Good morning. Welcome to another English class. Today, as far as you know, we start the fourth term of the year. In other words, this is the last one. The last one in which you're going to have the English class, because next year you're just going to have your technical subjects. And I hope that you take advantage of these classes so you might practice your English skills. And in every experience, there's also something to learn. And I hope that you, like I said before, you seize the time, seize the day, and take advantage of everything that we study here in this class. I'm going to explain the only assignment that we have for this term. In English class, you're going to have only one evaluation because remember that we are going to start getting ready for the advanced test that this year you're gonna take that exam. I suppose that it's gonna be exactly like the way it was last year. You're gonna be online, 100% online, and I think you're gonna have the whole day to answer all those questions. This is not a confirmation, but I think that is the way it is. And that's why in English, you will have only one assignment. And it's gonna be an oral quiz. The oral quiz consists of teams, so you're gonna work in pairs, and I'm gonna let you know how. Just let me share the screen with you. In a few seconds, you'll see it. There we go. So students from 11th grade, your homework is for 75% of your final score, basically everything. So you have to do your best in order to have an excellent score. Then the instructions are this. Well, I need someone to help me out reading this. And I will ask, Jonathan, are you there? Levi? Sandra Araceli?
Hello, teacher.
Hello, Sandrita. Help me, please, and read instruction 1 and instruction 2.
Okay. Work in pairs. You will deliver a 5-minute speech about the advantage and disadvantage you have faced during 2021 regarding your only online classes. The pairs will be assigned by alphabetical order. Example 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, etc. Note: in cases when the class had odd number of students, the last three will work together. Example: 31, 32, and 33, 25, 26, and 27, etc. 2. Join the Zoom class and deliver your speech when the teacher calls your names. Important: if one of the students in the team is in face-to-face modality and the other one is at home, they will interact synchronously through Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So in 5 minutes, you will talk about the pros and cons, the advantage and disadvantage that you have faced during 2001 regarding to your classes, the online classes. Because remember that we can talk about a mixed modality, face-to-face and online in a whole, because it has been interrupted because of the outbreak of COVID. There are moments in which the school has said, no, all of the students will remain home for their own biosecurity. And I remember that you were one of the groups who attended the most in the face-to-face modality. And this is something very remarkable from you. But nowadays, it's not like this, because remember that you have received some warnings that the situation is getting out of control in El Salvador. There's a second outbreak, a third outbreak. And so the situation is kind of unsteady and unsecure. So that's why if you decide to stay home, or if you decide to come here, that will be no problem for this evaluation, because you will synchronously work with your partners just in case that one is here and the other one is not. The thing is that you have to work in pairs in the order of the list. Because it's right there, alphabetical order, and you know that the list of students is alphabetically arranged by the last name. So 1 is going to work with 2, 3 with 4, 5 with 4 with 5, 6 with 7, etc. Only in the cases where there are odd numbers in the group, only the last 3 will work together. So like you said, no, teacher, I want to work 1, 2, 3, or 5, 6, 7. No, so it's not your call. It's not your decision to make. Only the last 3 will work together, and then the rest will work in pairs. If in your case, I think that you are odd, in electronics there are 15 or 17, and in accounting, don't remember exactly how many you are, but this is an instruction that you have to keep in mind. Then during classes, in the regular classes schedule, like you always do, you're gonna join the class and you're gonna deliver your speech when the teacher calls your name. And this is an opportunity to catch up with the students who have never, ever, ever talked, because you said that your microphone is not working, even though I can see that you have a microphone. And also in your cell phones, you have microphones incorporated. And so there's just making excuses when you said that you can talk. And I accept them, because I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything to say about it. It's your decision. You are the ones who are paying, not me. And this is a waste of resources, because if you have the chance to join the classes, if you have the chance to use your technology and you don't use it, that is a waste of time, waste of resources, and especially it's a shame for your parents. So this is the first time in 2 years that I will probably listen to the voice. Well, actually not the voice, because I have students who don't use the mic, but they are active in class. And I can tell some of you are very active in classes, even though you don't use your microphone. I'm talking about the students who pretend to be online, and they say, and when I call them, they say nothing. So I'm talking for those kind of students, not the ones that uses the chat to communicate, because I really appreciate that you also participate through the chat. But it's gonna be the chance for the students who have disappeared since 2020, totally disappeared in 2020. So you might finally talk in class. And then, like my dear Sandrita read, there's no problem if you are face-to-face or you are at home with your partner. You will synchronously participate. And in your presentations, please use pictures to illustrate your points. The advantages and disadvantages of online education. Okay, this is the assignment, and today we're gonna work on a lesson, on a reading lesson. Is the first lesson in unit number 4. Unit number 4 Um, the story is The Adopted Son, written by G. de Maupassant. This is a very famous author. I think that one of his finest and most common readings is Bola de Cebo. I remember that I got to read it in high school, and I didn't. I just read one story. It's a collection, I guess, of short stories. But the main or the most important story in that book collection, is obviously Bola de Cebo. And we're gonna watch a clip that I recorded last year about the author's biography, and also the summary of the story. But before I read the summary, or before I play the summary, we're gonna read the story and I'm gonna play the audio. But I need to get it ready. So give me please a few seconds to get this done. Please wait. Listen, please. Today we start term number 4, and before to start with the lesson, I want to share a video with you about the benefits of reading. Let's hear it.
From the moment I knew how to read, I couldn't stop reading books. One of my favorite activities as a child was reading. I loved it that I could enter a magical world of my own, and I'm not the only one. Bill Gates reads 50 books per year. Warren Buffett reads between 600 to 1,000 pages a day. Oprah Winfrey credits books with much of her success. Reading is a valuable treasure for a better quality of life. Many people think that reading is boring, especially nowadays when we have all this technology, and apparently there are more exciting things than books, such as smartphones or game consoles, but although they are not sophisticated gadgets, nor have any visual effects, books contain value, and yes, they can even entertain. At some point of my life, I stopped reading because my routine was full of new situations I had to deal with, so this hobby slowly faded away. A few years ago, I decided to start reading again, and it was so difficult. I couldn't read more than one page at a time and had to read passages over and over because I couldn't concentrate. But I forced myself, and because I was persistent, my reading skills slowly came back to me. It's also important to start with light reading books so you won't get too frustrated. There are books at any style about every subject, and you can always find one that you'd like. From comic books and manga to thrillers, romance, adventure, science fiction, informational, self help, and whatnot. I want to say a few words about informational books. People need a mentor in order to succeed, a role model to look up to. When we see someone else who inspires us, we can learn from them and they can guide us and give us advice. However, not everyone gets to have someone like this. Luckily, many successful people write such good books that having them is like collecting diamonds. Imagine that you have a treasure box that contains everything you wanted to know, a glimpse to the mind of experts and their way of thinking. This is exactly what you get by reading these books. You can learn so many things and gain information from people who know what they're talking about. I personally benefit from reading self help books, and many successful people do that on a regular basis. I think that the self development books that have inspired me the most by far are The Secret and Rich Dad Poor Dad, but there are many other great books in this category. Now let's talk about some other reading benefits. Reading can actually make you smarter. It stimulates your brain, and unlike watching television, which is a passive way to consume information or entertainment, while reading, you are active, you sharpen your mind and encourage deep thinking. As you try to keep up with the plot and follow every detail, and sometimes even guess what's going to happen next, you improve your analytical thinking skills. Since we're used to be distracted, if it's by checking email or social media, receiving notifications, text messages, and many other distractions, reading is something that demands your full attention and improves your concentration. It is a very relaxing activity. It's better to read a book before you go to sleep than stare at screens, which also lowers the quality of your sleep. A person who reads books expands his horizons and vocabulary, increases his intelligence and general knowledge, and also improves his memory. Books are fun, enjoyable, entertaining, and developing the imagination and creativity. They enrich your internal world. Try to read a little bit every day until it becomes a habit. It's hard to resist the temptations of technology, but nothing compares to the feeling of holding a book and reading. A good book is an entry ticket to a wonderful world. Check the description for some of my favorite books and a link to free audiobooks. Hope I convinced you a little bit and there will be more people out there who read books. Tell me in the comments what is your favorite book and feel welcome to subscribe to see more. See you next time!
For today's class, we're gonna use our book, A Spotlight on Literature E. We're gonna read the story of The Adopted Son by G. de Maupassant, page. Okay, so you have to get your books on pages from 82 to 87. Your spotlights on literature. Like I said, we're going to start the last unit, unit number 4. And the reading is The Adopted Son. We're gonna watch part of the clip. We're not gonna watch it all. We're gonna watch only the part in about G. de Maupassant's biography, a short biography of this guy, because there are a lot of things to say about the man behind the story. Just 82 to 87. Let's start. Before to read the story, it is important to know a little bit about the man behind it. This man is G. de Maupassant. He was born on August 5th in 1850 in France, and he died on July 6th, 1893 in Paris. He was a French naturalist writer of short stories and novels who is, by general agreement, the greatest French short story writer of all times. Something interesting about his childhood is that he was the elder of 2 children of Gustave and Laurette de Maupassant. His mother's claim that he was born in Chanteau de Miromesnil has been disputed. The couple's second son was born in 1856. As a young man, G. de Maupassant moved to the Lycée at the Le Havre and passed his bachelor degree the following year. In the autumn of 1869, he began law studies in Paris, which were interrupted by the outbreak of the Franco-German War. Maupassant volunteered, served first as a private in the field, and was later transferred through his father's intervention to the Quartermaster Corps. His first-hand experience of war was to prove him with the material for some of his finest stories. Well, to reinforce the facts that I have provided about the life of this famous French author, we're gonna watch a clip made by some students. Enjoy it.
Was a French writer remembered as a master of short story form and as a representative of the naturalist school of writing.
His writings belong to the naturalism, and he has written more than 300 short stories, 6 novels, travel books, and also a book of poems. Born on August 5, 1850, born in Château de Miromesnil, France.
Father, Gustave de Maupassant. Mother, Laurette Potibie. Siblings, Herb de Maupassant and Craig de Maupassant. Died at age 42, died on July 6, 1893, Esprit Blanc, Masipari.
Disabilities, depression, challenges faced, domestic instability, and he is not married. He suffered from syphilis, a sexually transmitted disease that he contracted in his youth. He suffered from mental problems and tried to commit suicide by slitting his throat in 1892. He was later admitted into a private mental institute, Esprit Blanche, at Passy in Paris.
He was 11 years old. His mother separated from his father. He lived under the care of his mother. He was very devoted to his mother, who was a well-read woman with a passion for classical literature.
When he was 13, he went to learn classical studies at Ibito Seminary for a brief period. He later attended the institution Leroy Petit in Rouen, a private school.
In 1867, he began high school. The following year, he went to the Lycée Pierre Corneille School, where he took part in drama and became passionate about poetry. After his graduation, he became a volunteer in Franco-Prussian War. From 1871, he went to Paris and started working as a clerk in the Navy Department. He would spend the next 10 years of his life serving in this position.
He worked for several prominent French newspapers. Perhaps his best-known work, The Necklace.
Okay, the quality of the audio was not so good, but you could read the subtitles just in case that there's a lot of interruption. Yeah, I would say that there were some sounds in the background, but it's because of the quality of the audio. And also this video is going to be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Well, actually, it is already uploaded in YouTube, as you can see. And now we're going to read the story and also listen. You're going to listen as you read. So pay attention, please.
The Adopted Son by Guy de Maupassant. The two cottages stood be.
Just let me know if you listen, please. Can you listen?
Yes, teacher.
Thank you very much.
Beside each other at the foot of a hill. The two peasants labored hard on the unproductive soil to rear their little ones, and each family had 4. Before the adjoining doors, a whole troop of urchins played and tumbled about from morning till night. The 2 eldest were 6 years old, and the youngest were about 15 months. The marriages and afterward the births having taken place nearly simultaneously in both families. The 2 mothers could hardly distinguish their own children among the lot, and as for the fathers, they were altogether at sea. The 8 names danced in their heads. They were always getting them mixed up, and when they wished to call one child, the men often called 3 names before getting the right one. The first of the 2 cottages, as you came up from the bathing beach, Rollport, was occupied by the Tuvaches, who had 3 girls and 1 boy. The other house sheltered the Valence, who had 1 girl and 3 boys. They all subsisted frugally on soup, potatoes, and fresh air. At 7 o'clock in the morning, then at noon, then at 6 o'clock in the evening, the housewives got their broods together to give them their food, as the gooseherds collect their charges. The children were seated, according to age, before the wooden table, varnished by 50 years of use, the mouths of the youngest hardly reaching the level of the table. Before them was placed a bowl filled with bread, soaked in the water in which the potatoes had been boiled, half a cabbage, and 3 onions. The whole line ate until their hunger was appeased. The mother herself fed the smallest. A small pot roast on Sunday was a feast for all, and the father on this day sat longer over the meal, repeating, "I wish we could have this every day." One August afternoon, a carriage stopped suddenly in front of the cottages, and a young woman who was driving the horses said to the gentleman sitting at her side, "Oh, look at all those children, Henri. How pretty they are, tumbling about in the dust like that." The man did not answer, accustomed to these outbursts of admiration, which were a pain and almost a reproach to him. The young woman continued, "I must hug them. Oh, how I should like to have one of them. That one there, the little tiny one." Springing down from the carriage, she ran toward the children, took one of the 2 youngest, a Tuvache child, and lifting him up in her arms, she kissed him passionately on his dirty cheeks, on his disorderly hair daubed with earth, and on his little hands, with which he fought vigorously to get away from the caresses which displeased him. Then she got into the carriage again and drove off at a lively trot. But she returned the following week, and seating herself on the ground, took the youngster in her arms, stuffed him with cakes, gave candies to all the others, and played with them like a young girl, while the husband waited patiently in the carriage. She returned again, made the acquaintance of the parents, and reappeared every day with her pockets full of dainties and pennies. Her name was Madame Henri Doubière. One morning, on arriving, her husband alighted with her, and without stopping to talk to the children, who now knew her well, she entered the farmer's cottage. They were busy chopping wood for the fire. They rose to their feet in surprise, brought forward chairs, and waited expectantly. Then the woman, in a broken, trembling voice, began, "My good people, I have come to see you because I should like to take your little boy with me." The country people, too bewildered to think, did not answer. She recovered her breath and continued, "We are alone, my husband and I. We would keep him. Are you willing?" The peasant woman began to understand. She asked, "You want to take Charlot from us?" "Oh, no, indeed." Then Monsieur Aubière intervened. "My wife has not made her meaning clear. We wish to adopt him, but he will come back to see you. If he turns out well, as there is every reason to expect, he will be our heir. If we, perchance, should have children, he will share equally with them. But if he should not reward our care, we should give him, when he comes of age, a sum of 20,000 francs, which shall be deposited immediately in his name with a lawyer. As we have thought also of you, we should pay you until your death a pension of 100 francs a month. Do you understand me?" The woman had arisen furious. "You want me to sell you Charlot? Oh, no, that's not the sort of thing to ask of a mother. Oh, no, that would be an abomination." The man, grave and deliberate, said nothing, but approved of what his wife said by a continued nodding of his head. Madame Aubière, in dismay, began to weep, turning to her husband with a voice full of tears, the voice of a child used to having all its wishes gratified. She stammered, "They will not do it, Henri. They will not do it." Then he made a last attempt. "But, my friends, think of the child's future, of his happiness, of—" The peasant woman, however, exasperated, cut him short. "It's all considered. It's all understood. Get out of here, and don't let me see you again. The idea of wanting to take away a child like that." Madame Aubière remembered that there were 2 children, quite little, and she asked through her tears, with the tenacity of a willful and spoiled woman, "But is the other little one not yours?" Father Tuvache answered, "No, he is our neighbor's. You can go to them if you wish." And he went back into his house, whence resounded the indignant voice of his wife. The Valens were at the table, slowly eating slices of bread that they parsimoniously spread with a little rancid butter on a plate between the two. Monsieur Doubière recommended his proposals, but with more insinuations, more oratorical precautions, and more shrewdness. The 2 country people shook their heads in sign of refusal, but when they learned that they were to have 100 francs a month, they considered the matter, consulting one another by glances, much disturbed. They kept silent for a long time, tortured, hesitating. At last the woman asked, "What do you say to it, man?" In a weighty tone he said, "I say that it's not to be despised." Madame Aubière, trembling with anguish, spoke of the future of their child, of his happiness, and of the money he could give them later. The peasant asked, "This pension of 1,200 francs, will it be promised before a lawyer?" Monsieur Doubière responded, "Why, certainly, beginning with tomorrow." The woman, who was thinking it over, continued, 100 francs a month is not enough to pay for depriving us of the child. That child would be working in a few years. We must have 120 francs. Tapping her foot with impatience, Madame Doubière granted it at once, and, as she wished to carry off the child with her, she gave 100 francs extra as a present, while her husband drew up a paper. And the young woman, radiant, carried off the howling brat as one carries away a wished-for knick-knack from a shop. The Tuvaches from their door watched her departure, silent, serious, perhaps regretting their refusal. Nothing more was heard of little Jean Valin. The parents went to the lawyer every month to collect their 120 francs. They had quarreled with their neighbors because Mother Tuvache grossly insulted them, continually repeating from door to door that one must be unnatural to sell one's child, that it was horrible, disgusting bribery. Sometimes she would take her Charlot in her arms, ostentatiously exclaiming as if he understood, "I didn't sell you, I didn't sell you, my little one. I'm not rich, but I don't sell my children." And from then on, year after year, it was like that every day. Indignant comments shouted in front of the door. Madame Tuvache had come to believe that she was above her neighbors because she had not given into selling Charlot. And those who spoke of her used to say, it was tempting, almost irresistible, but she carried herself like the best of mothers. By the time Charlot grew to be about 10 years old, he too already had an idea that he was superior to his peers because he had not been sold. The Valins lived comfortably, thanks to the pension. That was the cause of the unappeasable fury of the Tuvaches, who had remained miserably poor. In time, Charlot alone remained to labor with his old father to support the mother and 2 younger sisters. He had reached 21 years when one morning a brilliant carriage stopped before the 2 cottages. A young gentleman with a gold watch chain got out, giving his hand to an aged white-haired lady. The old lady said to him, "It is there, my child, at the second house," and he entered the house of the Valins as though at home. The old mother was washing her aprons. The infirm father slumbered at the chimney corner. Both raised their heads, and the young man said, "Bonjour, papa. Bonjour, maman." They both stood up, frightened. In a flutter, the peasant woman dropped her soap into the water and stammered, "Is it you, my child? Is it you, my child?" He took her in his arms and hugged her, repeating, "Bonjour, maman," while the old man, all a tremble, said, in his calm tone which he never lost, "Here you are, back again, Jean," as if he had just seen him a month ago. When they had got to know one another again, the parents wished to take their boy out in the neighborhood and show him off. They took him to the mayor, to the deputy, to the priest, and to the schoolmaster. Charlot, standing on the threshold of his cottage, watched him pass. In the evening, at supper, he said to the old people, "You must have been stupid to let the Valins boy be taken." The mother answered obstinately, "I wouldn't sell my child." The father remained silent. The son continued, "It is unfortunate to be sacrificed like that." Then Father Tuvache, in an angry tone, said, "Are you going to reproach us for having kept you?" And the young man said brutally, "Yes, I reproach you for having been such fools. Parents like you make the misfortune of their children. You deserve that I should leave you." The old woman wept over her plate. She moaned as she swallowed the spoonfuls of soup, half of which she spilled. "One may kill oneself to bring up children." Then the boy said roughly, "I'd rather not have been born than be what I am. When I saw the other, my heart stood still. I said to myself, 'See what I should have been now.'" He got up. "See here, I feel that I would do better not to stay here, because I would throw it up to you from morning till night, and I would make your life miserable. I'll never forgive you for that." The 2 old people were silent, downcast, in tears. he continued. No, the thought of that would be too much. I'd rather look for a living somewhere else. He opened the door. A sound of voices came in at the door. The Vallons were celebrating the return of their child.
And that's the end. That's the end of the story. You might find that kind of controversial, to put up your children in adoption. And how would you feel if you realize that they consent you for adoption to another family? How would you feel? No matter if the family is wealthy or they poor, but I don't know. So then, just for you to make the understanding easier, there's a summary of the three different parts in the story: the beginning, the middle, and the ending. And it's here. Listen, please. Now we're gonna talk about the events that happened during The Adopted Son by Guy de Maupassant. Well, in the beginning, the story takes place in two cottages which are next to each other near the ocean in France. The two families, the Tuvach and the Volans, are farmers, but the soil in the area is not good for growing crops. The two families are poor and very similar. They live next door to each other and have the same number of children who are the same ages. The two mothers could hardly distinguish their own offspring among a lot. As the story goes, the families have visitors, Henri Rouviers and her husband. They were driving by when they see the children. She begins coming oftenly to play with them. After several visits, the couple meet the Tuvach and ask if they can adopt the youngest one, Charlotte. No reason is given for their choosing except that he is the first child she saw when she stopped by initially. The couple offered to adopt him as their heir and give the Tuvach a monthly stipend as compensation. The family adamantly refused. The parents are insulted that the couple will try to buy their child. Madame Henri and her husband then went next door and asked the same thing to the Valans, and they asked to adopt the youngest child. His name was Jim. The Valans accepted. This causes a huge rift between the families. The Tuvach mother insults the Valans and reassures Charlotte that she would never sell him, and what the Valans have done is horrible. A significant part of Mother Stuart's anger lies in her jealousy. We see that the Valans lived comfortably, that thank you for the pension that they are receiving for her child. That was the cause of the unpleasant fury that the Tuvach, who had remained miserably poor. When Jean Valjean returned at the age of 21, he was well off, and his family showed him around town so everyone could see that. Charlotte Tuvach is angry at his parents because he realized that that wealthy life could have been his if they had accepted the offer. He told them that and left, and the final lines of the story are as he is walking out. He opened the door. A sound of voices came in at the door. The Valans were celebrating the return of their child. Okay, that is the summary of the story, the beginning, the middle, and the resolution. There are a couple of exercises in your book that require your attention. And let me show you what you're doing. the story. The exercise are here. Just let me zoom so you can see better. So the exercises can be found on pages 88 and 89. The first exercise consists of completing the diagram with different stages of the story. The settings is basically the description of the place where the story goes on, the conflict and the resolution, and a brief description of the characters, the two families, the two children, and Madame Cuviers and her husband. Then you have to identify who has said these comments, these quotes. You have to match if it was Mother Balang, Mother Tuvach, Madame Tuviers, Henry Tuviers, or Charlotte. You have to match the names with this, and this is what you're going to do in order to finish the class. You can do it in 5 minutes. And if you don't finish, we will continue next class. But now try to do your best and complete it.